The 19th edition of the Safari Sevens tournament had its fair share of problems. Senior players were not called up due to a contractual disagreement with the union, leading to a dismal showing with the rookies representing the country. Traditional rugby fans gave the event a wide berth, complaining about the venue as well as team selection. This happened in the backdrop of a simmering brand war that added more wood to the fire. Amidst all this, Kenya Rugby Union remains defiant with a much bigger plan in mind.
Our goal is to make Safaricom Sevens a part of the World Series.
They say rugby is a ruffian's game played by gentlemen. Rugby fans and players do love their tipple, and fun has traditionally been a huge component of the game. And therein lies the greatest challenge in a country currently embroiled in a fight against alcohol abuse, to find the balance between the game and the carnival atmosphere.
And when you look around today, you'll see families, you'll see boyfriends, girlfriends, children. This is a family game.
Rugby fans have not taken kindly this attempt to radically transform the Safari Sevens. When the entertainment village was closed abruptly Sunday evening, they took to social media to vent.
You know, Mwangi has done a fantastic job at democratizing the sport. And you need corporate sponsorship.
In order to understand why the passionate supporters feel the premier rugby event has lost its identity, one needs to know its history. The Safari Sevens tournament was a brainchild of the Rugby Patron Society of Kenya. Its original members guaranteed the loan from the English Rugby Union for the purchase of the RFUA grounds along Ngong Road in the 50s.
We actually started the Safari Sevens in 1995. The idea was floated by, again, sadly, the late Robin Cahill in a bar.
20 years ago, Sevens rugby was an afterthought played at the end of the season for recreational purposes. The dream was to use Safari Sevens to develop rugby in the country, generate funds to grow the sport, take it to the masses and turn Kenya into a rugby destination.
Grown beyond the wildest dreams any of us ever had.
Safari Sevens was first held at the RFUA grounds in 1996 until 2010 when it was moved to Nyayo Stadium before its current location, Kasarani. The change of venue was advised by the progressive growth in fanbase and the lack of an accommodative rugby-only stadium. And here, the resistance to change was launched.
Rugby people, and when you look at rugby stadiums, rugby people want to be very close to the game. They want to be very, very close to the action. They want to touch the action. And Kasarani is meant for athletics. It's meant for football. So you are a bit detached.
But the union, which has already bid to host a leg in the IRB World Series, has to make do with the available venues.
We would like to have our own stadium. But when you look at the budgets, that will be a long shot for us to do.
Much easier said than done. I mean, we get back to money, you get back to location.
A concern for many is that the dream of making Safari Sevens the rugby tournament of choice for the elite rugby playing nations is taking longer than expected.
If you want to get the really big players, if you want to get the New Zealand team, the South African team, which is what you really want to get, I think they'll be looking for their shilling.
The verdict on how successful the Safari Sevens is depends on who you are on the rugby cycle. The fanatical followers feel uninvolved due to the wiping changes in the sport. The corporate sponsors will only look at the value for money, while the clueless young fans may feel cheated and ask where the fun is. The players will still enjoy a weekend of intense rugby action as the union waits for the decision on the IRB bid. After 19 years of the Safari Sevens tournament, it is time for the Kenya Rugby Union and rugby stakeholders in general to take a close look at the tournament and ensure that it lives up to its original intent and identity. Warothe Kiru, NTV. And even Africa's premier rugby tournament. This year marked the 20th edition of the Rugby Extravaganza. Despite reaching the historic milestone, the 2015 Safari Sevens was muted with women's, veterans and schools categories conspicuously missing.
I'm very excited that we didn't cancel the event, we actually went ahead with it, and we are happy that it happened.
Despite the hassles off the pitch, the on-the-pitch action was world-class with fans treated to beautiful rugby. A total of 16 teams representing 13 countries participated, notably eventual winners Samurai, Portugal, Spain, Namibia, Zimbabwe, all sending their core teams with England represented by the Saxons and Newcastle Whalers.
I think this is the highest level of competition we've had in this country, in the Safari Sevens.
Unfortunately, the delightful rugby was played in an empty stadium, with Safari Sevens recording one of its lowest attendances yet. Many have asked why this was the case.
Because of the cost of advertising, the cost of making sure that we get the crowds in. You are all from media houses and you don't come cheap.
Would urge fans to come in and support the tournament, and maybe it's look at a different model, and also the timing of the event and just the communication.
Ever since the move from RFUA to Nyayo Stadium and eventually Kasarani, debate has raged about the venue. Purists calling for a return to Ngong Road and progressives urging people to look ahead. The venue debate appears to be settled by the union.
When you're looking at an international tournament, key thing is the facilities. Player welfare is everything. Changing rooms, playing surface, security. So when you look at, for example, Nyayo Stadium, you're looking at 2 changing rooms. Here we've got 16 changing rooms for the teams. So it's much more comfortable for the teams. When you're looking at securing a venue, in terms of securing the air, the land and everything, there are various things that Kasarani has that Nyayo Stadium may not give you. Ngong Road and the capacity and being next to homes, inconvenience on a major road like Ngong Road. I mean, we've got also to be thoughtful about everything that comes into planning an event of this nature.
When all is said and done, the success or otherwise of Safari Sevens is pegged on finances. The union even contemplated not holding the event as no corporate wanted to be a title sponsor. Eventually, Safaricom, KCB, Kenya Airways, all who have a history with rugby came to the rescue alongside other corporates.
We want a Safaricom to come clean and say, yes, we are with you going into the future, so that we begin to plan the event immediately after this.
And as Safari Sevens gets into its third decade, there are out-of-the-box ideas by the organizers.
Could be plans to have this event out of town, so that we can maybe in future have a sort of a way where counties can bid to actually have the Safari Sevens. And you'll be surprised that counties will actually come and foot the whole bill. And we can have it in Mombasa, we can have it in Naivasha, we can have it in Thika. It's anywhere.
After 20 years of the Safari Sevens tournament, it is upon the Kenya Rugby Union to devise new ways of making this tournament grow even further. Warothe Kiru, NTV, at the Kasarani Stadium.